Hello everyone and welcome to this session on SOC reports. Data breaches are increasing every day. The size of cybercrime market is estimated to reach US dollars 10.5 trillion by 2025. The cloud services market is estimated to reach US dollars 1 trillion by 2024. Third-party risks continue to rise, and new laws for data security and privacy are giving chills to many CIOs, CISOs, and compliance professionals. SOC Reports is a tool used for third-party assurance that has undergone some major changes in the recent past. Many of our potential and existing customers needed clarifications on the updated SOC reports, and hence we have come up with these three sessions. This one on the updates on SOC reports, the other two relating to SOC reports for cloud security and for privacy. I would recommend you to see them in the same sequence. In this session, we are going to cover these topics starting with our introduction, understanding the updated SOC concepts, what are SOC 2 Plus reports, how a SOC 2 is linked to COSO risk management, what are the service auditor requirements, and finally, how to estimate costs and time for a SOC project. I am Ashwin, and I am the CEO of Accedere. I have been in the IT and cybersecurity audits since the year 2002. I am a CPA, MBA, and have many of the leading certifications as mentioned in my profile. Accedere Incorporation is a CPA firm based in Denver, Colorado, with an associated office in Mumbai, India. We are listed with PCAOB and Cloud Security Alliance as auditors. We focus only on cybersecurity and related areas. Currently, we do not practice tax, and accounting is practiced as relevant to SOC 1 reports only. We have a team of well-qualified professionals, and we have large as well as SMB clients. Now let's take a look at some major changes on SOC reports since 2017. SOC reports are commonly used for vendor risks, data security risks, as well as for Sarbanes-Oxley Act or the SOX Act compliance. SOC 1, also known as ISAE 3402 in some parts of this world, is used for controls over financial data or internal controls over financial reporting. SOC 2, also known as ISAE 3000, is used to report on at least one of the 5 trust services criteria of security, availability, confidentiality, processing integrity, and/or privacy covered in the TSP Section 100. Cloud service providers are also third parties, and these days SOC 2 reports are commonly used by them. Important updates. First and foremost, the full form of SOC now stands for System and Organization Controls. Some still use the old one, that was Service Organization Controls, which had been in use for many years. Now, SOC reports can be used by organizations and not just service organization. The other major change is the SSAE 18 standard. Earlier, the SOC 1 reports were under SSAE 16 standard. However, AICPA merged all the SSAE 1 to 16 standards under one common SSAE standard, under which all the SOC examinations now are carried out. In the past, there have been terms used such as SAS 70, SSAE 16, AT 101 for SOC reports. Here is the history starting in 1974 as SAS 3, then SAS 44, SAS 70, Web Trust, SysTrust, SOC 123 in 2011. There have been some major updates in the TSP Section 100 Trust Services criteria in the year 2020. AICPA also introduced 2 more SOC reports, one for cybersecurity in 2017 and more recently for SOC for supply chain in 2020. Both these new reports are for any organizations and not necessarily for a service organization. However, our discussions in these three sessions are limited to SOC for service organizations only. Here is the summary of SOC 1, SOC 2, and SOC 3 reports. The SOC 3 report is an abridged form of a SOC 2 report which can be shared with anyone without an NDA. The SOC 1 and SOC 2 reports have confidential information and are required to be shared only against an NDA. Because NDA signing can take time due to involvement of legal teams, entities commonly used SOC 3 reports to target potential clients. SOC reports are now used by many organizations like payroll services, tax services, IT services, cloud services, and so on. A Type 1 report is usually for a point in time and reports only on design of controls. This is generally used for the first time and where the need for a report is almost immediate. The Type 2 reports are used to report not only on design but also on the operating effectiveness of controls. The Type 2 can cover a period of minimum 6 months and maximum of 1 year. There could be exceptions at the discretion of the service auditor, subject to conditions. So now we know that SOC reports have controls for the service organization, but what are they? For SOC 1, the entity describes the specific control objective based on their business processes or the applications in scope and the controls that their clients would like to have an assurance on, such as integrity, data security, IT general controls, availability controls, and so on. We discussed earlier that SOC 2 uses the trust services criteria to report on at least one, that is the security category, also known as the common criteria. This itself has about 300 points of focus provided in these 9 aspects, which are aligned to the updated COSO risk framework. The earlier 2016 TSPC had only 7, the additions being monitoring and risk mitigation. The SOC examination starts with a system description or the description of controls made by the organization covering the areas DC1 to DC9. It is important to note that this updated AICPA format has some new areas to be reported on, such as incident management. It is expected that organizations report their data breaches or other major incidents to their clients. As a SOC report also works as an attested security white paper, and in the wake of new laws, it is important for organizations to be transparent to their clients. There are 4 sections of a SOC report. The first is an auditor's opinion. The second is the management assertion from the organization. The third is the description also from the organization. The fourth is the control objectives or the applicable trust services criteria and the related controls along with the auditor's remarks on any exceptions on them. Depending on the scope and controls, a SOC report could be around 100 pages or so. There are also 4 entities involved: the service auditor, which is a CPA firm like ours, the service organization or the organization which is being reported on, the user organization, which may be the client of the service organization, and finally the user auditor, who are the auditors of your client and may have demanded these SOC reports to have an assurance on the third-party controls. Now let's see what are SOC 2 Plus reports. AICPA allows use of additional frameworks to be reported on along with the trust services criteria. One example is the Cloud Security Alliance's CCM controls. The other is the C5 Cloud Standard, or even a specific privacy mandate such as HIPAA, GDPR, or CCPA can be included aside from the privacy category of the trust services criteria. In the same SOC 2 report, along with the common criteria and other criteria, these specific controls can be additionally reported on. We have covered these topics in detail in our sessions on SOC 2 for cloud and SOC 2 for privacy in this channel. It is important to understand the link with risk management lifecycle and SOC reports. About 63% of the data breaches have occurred due to third parties, as quoted by leading statistics. This could mean that many entities lack a proper risk management with a life cycle approach. We have seen this also in our audits prior to 2017 updates. Many smaller organizations just conduct the risk assessments and do not focus on the risk management lifecycle. The COSO risk framework and SOC 2 aligns this aspect in the common criteria. The framework can be applied at the entity level, a unit or process level, and can be used for operations, reporting, and compliance. As per the updated common criteria, it is important to report on all aspects of risks, covering monitoring as well as on effective mitigation. To do an effective monitoring and mitigation, we need to define metrics of measurement wherein you define what legal requirements, threats, or indicators of compromise you are monitoring and their related controls. Any variance must be monitored daily, weekly, or monthly as the case may be, and all exceptions or issues must be reported to the Security Governance Committee. What are CPA and service auditor requirements? A CPA performs a SOC engagement. In the US, a CPA license is provided by a US state and not by AICPA. A firm as well as a CPA will have a number that can be validated online either at cpaverify.org or at the state website. AICPA sets the standards and also has independence requirements from auditors conducting SOC examinations. This also includes only limited consulting to audit clients. An engagement letter is mandatory to conduct a SOC examination. To audit a US listed entity, the CPA firm must be listed with PCAOB and with Cloud Security Alliance to conduct a Cloud Star attestation. AICPA membership is optional and any non-CPA can also be a member of AICPA. Many potential clients just send us a casual email to provide us a standard cost of a SOC report. It is important to note that the time and costs will depend on several factors such as how many services, locations, and control objectives in scope for a SOC 1 report. Also, if it is a type 1, which is a point in time report, or a type 2, which is a period of time report. If for a SOC 2, additionally, what are the trust services criteria to be covered? Do we also need a SOC 2 plus report with specific privacy mandates or cloud controls? What about the aspects covering processing integrity? For this category, to estimate the time and costs, the factors again would depend on how many business processes or applications in scope, how many data sets in scope, how many input sources, how many output parameters, etc. Many clients also ask how much time it takes for a SOC Type 1 report, as there is no minimum requirement of 6 months or 12 months as in a Type 2. The number of man days would also depend on the scope that we just discussed. A typical draft and final reporting timeline itself can take several weeks depending on the scope. As a type 2 report is for a period of time, the engagement time would depend on the agreed period between 6 months and 12 months for the monitoring and the effectiveness of the controls. The final deliverable for a SOC project is only a report, and the size of the report will depend on the scope of the engagement. Accedere follows a project management methodology for every SOC project, and we expect the client to assign a project manager or a point of contact. Clients also need to share the description, which is the starting point of an examination, as well as the artifacts as evidence. We also agree to have fixed meeting schedules to complete the project in time, which is one of our USP. Finally, we expect the client to provide us the management assertion and the representation letters as required by AICPA to provide the final signed report and to close the project. The SOC 1, SOC 2, and SOC 3 reports provides the details of controls relevant to your services, which your clients can evaluate to get a comfort on your data security practices and consider that to provide you the much needed business. Thank you for watching this session. Should we be able to help your organization with SOC reports, please email us. Also, please note our disclaimer provided here. Thank you.